So if you're in the self-storage business or you're in the business of putting self-storage deals together, I bet you've heard a lot recently about opportunity zones. Well, let's talk about them. My name's Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Quick Start Academy. And what I do is I support the small investor who wants to get in the self-storage business or who wants to grow their self-storage business, strategically do so in a way that creates true wealth in a fulfilling career. And here's what I've got to say about opportunity zones and self-storage. What's the big deal? There's a lot of opportunity zone funds that are being established. Opportunity zones are supposed to be the greatest thing to spur redevelopment ever in our country. Okay, I admit it, I'm not the biggest fan of the person in the White House. But that still doesn't mean I wouldn't get all fired up if something in this new tax, quote, reform bill actually helped us in the self-storage business. I really don't see, except in some limited cases, how the opportunity zone is really going to drive self-storage development. Look, if a submarket is in an opportunity zone, great. Take advantage of that if you can. But don't go chasing to do deals in submarkets that happen to be in opportunity zones unless that submarket is a good self-storage submarket. You don't want tax consequences 10 years down the road to be driving your acquisition decisions and development decisions today for a 10-year hold in the self-storage business. You just don't want to do that. If you're not making a profit, you're not going to have a capital gain to protect anyway. So let's talk and dive into some of the nuts and bolts about opportunity zone deals and what they really look like. First of all, at best, an opportunity zone, the intention of this offering is to allow and support real estate development in areas of the country that normally would not see investment dollars. Now, I can see the benefit of putting in housing or the benefit of putting in retail and grocery stores in some parts of the country that generally an investor or a developer might not go because of the low income demographics of that particular submarket or market. But put something in that will really benefit people. You go into a low-income area, self-storage is not going to benefit them. They don't need self-storage. I cannot tell you the number of people I've heard that are all excited and want to develop self-storage in these opportunity zones so they won't have to pay capital gains tax. Well, that's really not the case, except in some situations. We'll talk about them in a minute. I remember early on in my real estate career, my father had accumulated some modest wealth, and I was early in my real estate career, and it was before 1986, Reagan's 1986 Tax Reform Act, and I set an appointment up with him to meet with a tax shelter, and that's literally what was on the promotional material, a tax shelter real estate syndication. And the person came over to my dad's house, and the entire presentation was not about the real estate, although it was pretty good Class A suburban office real estate. The entire presentation was about how smart people don't pay taxes, dumb people do pay taxes. I remember that this gentleman said that the greatest day of his life was the day that he became 100% sheltered from income tax by putting enough of these deals together. Well, my father didn't invest in that, and very shortly after that, those tax shelter syndications were no longer possible after the 1986 Tax Reform Act. I haven't heard people getting this excited. The only difference was prior to 1986, those things really did shelter tax. These can, under certain limited circumstances. Let's dive into the nuts and bolts of the Opportunity Zone Act. Now, I'm not a specialist in it. I'm not promoting myself as a specialist. I'm someone who did enough research to determine if I wanted to get involved and try to do one of these deals, and I just didn't see the benefits of it for self-storage. But I will tell you the benefits that I do see from it. So first of all, if you're selling a piece of property and you want to put that into an Opportunity Zone deal, that works. You could also, unlike 1031 exchanges, you could sell anything that creates a capital gain, like bonds or stocks or anything that creates a capital gains. Those dollars can be invested in Opportunity Zone, and you don't need an accommodator. But here's the thing. It's not that you won't pay the capital gain on what you're selling. You will pay that capital gain. It's just a matter of when and how much. So if you sold a piece of property or you sold some stocks and you roll that money into an Opportunity Zone, what happens is your capital gain is calculated on the sale. You just don't pay it yet. If your money gets invested in a deal and you keep that money in for at least 5 years, you will get a 10% discount on what's owed on that capital gain. And in 7 years, you get a 15% discount. December 31st, 2026, you're going to pay the capital gains on whatever you put into an Opportunity Zone deal. So unlike 1031s where you're rolling your tax basis in and there's no capital, you're deferring the capital gain, here you're deferring it, but you're deferring it for at most 7 years. Now, if the new property that you acquired or built or developed, if that property stays in service for over 10 years, it's got to be in for 10 years. If you do that, then you will not have a capital gain on the appreciation of that property. That is a real benefit. If you're working with investors like I do, very few investors are going to keep their money tied up in a deal for 10 years. But in order to, quote, not pay capital gains, you've got to keep your money tied up in that deal for 10 years, and you will not be paying the gain on the appreciation for that property. You will pay your capital gains on the money that went into that deal. It's just a matter of whether you get a no discount, a 10% discount, or a 15% discount, and when you pay it. But you will. I still don't see any benefit that beats the 1031s right now. 1031s, in my opinion, are still the absolute best vehicle for creating pyramiding wealth for an investor, because you can invest in a project, create some money, roll that tax base into another project, and then make more money, and then 1031 roll that into another, and you can pyramid through your career, being able to use all of your equity. And here's a secret. If you never want to pay capital gains tax using the 1031 model, here's what you do. Die. When you die, the property that your money's in, at that point, it gets stepped up to the then market value, and your estate will owe the capital gains based on today's current market value. Seems like a lot to do to avoid paying a capital gains tax. I still think 1031s and DSTs are still the best vehicle. Now, if you want to go in Opportunity Zones, great. Here's my coaching. Make sure that sub-market that the Opportunity Zone's in is a market that will support self-storage. Again, avoiding capital gains won't be much of a deal at all if you've lost money for 10 years. Don't do that. If you've got a sub-market that works and you're willing to keep your project in service for over 10 years, awesome. Take advantage of the opportunity zone. But my coaching is, don't let the future prospect of maybe being able to avoid paying a capital gains tax drive your location decision. You want to create a project that works and creates profit. So thank you very much. My name's Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Storage World Analyzer. That's the financial analysis tool we use to determine if that self-storage project is going to create a profit for us. If you're using Excel, great, but I invite you to explore the Storage World Analyzer. It is, in my opinion, the best financial analysis software tool there is for the self-storage industry. You can analyze existing facilities, development opportunities, conversions, expansions. We use that tool every day. So thank you very much. I look forward to being with you again soon, and I'll see you then.